Good afternoon, and welcome to Wizards World. My name is Jim Redondi, and today we have with us Kara Lucchese from G Adventures. Today, Kara will talk about small group and sustainable adventure travel. Kara is based in an area that has had severe weather problems this past week, causing power outages and spotty internet connection, which hopefully will not impact her presentation and education on us with what G Adventure has to offer this afternoon. As a reminder, we would appreciate it if you mute yourself so that there is no background noise during the presentation. And if you have any questions, please use the chat box or raise your hand and we will get to your question at the end. Or actually, I think Kara, that's normally we have questions at the end, but Kara wants to make sure that we have questions during the presentation so we can even get to them as she is speaking. Right now, sit back, relax, and enjoy the presentation. Take it away, Kara.
Great, thank you so much, Jim. Bear with me for just a second while I share my screen here. And as Jim said before, please don't be scared. I like to put you guys in the hot seat and freak you out just a little bit, and I want you to interact. So I'm a little bit different from all these other webinars you might have sat on before. I know that there's a little bit of webinar burnout, so I'm here to try to make it interactive and getting those questions kind of while I'm talking about something. If you don't want to speak up, please feel free to drop a note in the chat anytime, and Jim will let me know it's there, and we can address that for you. So the more information, the merrier, the more questions, the better. I just want to get started and say hello and say thanks again for joining me today and Travel Wizards to kind of walk through the world of G. Again, like Jim said, my name is Kara Lucchese. I'm actually based up in nice, snowy Portland, Oregon. And I've worked for G for almost 8 years now. And I've been working with Travel Wizards for just as long. So has anybody here heard of G Adventures before? Feel free to raise your hand or put something in the chat box so I can see. I want to gauge my familiarity for everybody. Anyone? Okay, perfect. I see a couple thumbs up. That's good. We'll start there. Well, for those of you who have never heard of G Adventures, I wanted to start and kind of give you the lowdown and let you know who we are. If you haven't heard of us before, we are the world's largest independently owned small group adventure travel company. We are all about responsible travel, giving back to the local communities, and our platform and kind of mantra of who we are is we operate as a social enterprise. What that means is we're making sure that your dollars are actually staying in these local communities that you're traveling through to make a difference and a real difference in all of the local communities. So it's like even hotels that we use are going to be smaller, boutique style, locally owned and operated, things like that. G Adventures, we've been around for 30 years as of last year, so almost 31. We're a Canadian-based company. We started in Toronto, Canada by one man, two credit cards, and kind of a dream on creating a different type of travel experience. Back in the day, you really only had your big bus coach tours or your independent travel. So our owner and founder, Bruce Poontip, wanted to create something that was different, kind of give you the safety and security of traveling with a small group, but keep it really kind of intimate. So you're only traveling with a small group of people, really focusing on using travel as a force for good. For us, responsible travel is everything. Everything that we do with all of our itineraries with the local people is all about giving back and kind of making a positive difference. Again, community tourism is in the foundation and every fiber of who we are as a company. With every one of our trips, you can look either online, ask one of your amazing agents, or look at the Ripple score. That Ripple score is actually going to tell you exactly how much of your dollar is staying in the local community for every single trip that we run. We also have a plastic partnerships. We have special child, animal, and indigenous welfare policies in place. We were actually the first the first travel adventure company to actually implement an animal welfare policy as well. And the legend herself, Jane Goodall, was there to help us create that and also put together a curated collection that gives back to the Jane Goodall Institute as well. So if you're an animal lover, one more amazing reason to check us out. Planetara is the nonprofit that we work alongside with. It's our sister company, well, not really company, but our nonprofit. So this Planetara is who really helps like fund and find all these community-based tourism experiences that you're going to get along the way with all of our trips. Um, I, we started out, I think, with 30, and we have close to 100 projects around the globe right now, and that is growing all the time. Again, like I said, community tourism is the essence of everything that we do and stand for. So if you are really concerned about where your money's going, how is it affecting the local area, what area you're traveling in, we can definitely send you some more information so you can see how that works through G Adventures. We are going to make sure that we take you to all the main spots that you are the reason that you're going to a lot of these destinations, but we're also going to have some of these must-see things, but also get you off the beaten path a little bit to give you some experiences that you wouldn't likely have with a big bus coach tour or traveling on your own. With the small groups, we're able to get up close and personal and give you some really unique experiences as well, with local people, local communities, and things like that, that really just make all the difference in the world for your traveling experience. We're all about getting local as well, creating immersive experiences so you're not really feeling just like a tourist, that you're really getting to know the local people in the areas. And also just getting lost in some of the beauty and nature that this wonderful world of ours has to offer. So we truly believe at G that our world deserves more you, and hopefully sooner than later, since these days have been a little crazy. Just to give you a better idea of kind of how we set in the world, these are kind of the number of travelers that we have, the number of offices. We have over 700 different trips across 100 different countries right now and across all 7 continents. I would say our average demographic is probably between 45 and 55 years old, which actually surprises some people. But you'll learn a little bit more why that's skewed the way that it is when I go over our travel styles a little bit as well. So who here would be wanting to do something like this? I think the kind of the number one hurdle with people getting to know G Adventures a little bit is kind of just being put off a bit by the word adventure. We don't want that word to scare you. If you don't consider yourself an adventurous traveler, get that out of your brain. I want to remind you that you are, because for us, the word adventure really means those experiential moments, those experiential type of travels, like getting immersed in the local culture. It doesn't actually have to mean jumping off cliffs or ziplining through trees or anything like that. We do have all of that, but we know that that's not for everybody. So don't let the word adventure deter you. So please hang in there with me. We are set up in a way that it helps you kind of determine what type of traveler you are and what's going to be the best fit for the type of travel that you're interested in having. So we really have our different travel styles. Our classic trips are going to be a combination of some public and private transportation, mostly private right now under the circumstances. But you might have a homestay or an overnight train or something like that from, say, Bangkok to Chiang Mai. Kind of all of those a little bit more grassroots feeling, but still comfortable. Our active tours are exactly what they sound like. It's your hiking, biking, rafting, multi-sport, trekking Kilimanjaro, etc. Our marine tours are all things water. I'll go over that a little bit more in just a bit. We have 2 different sets of family tours as well. We have our 18 to 30 somethings, which is more that backpacking, kind of younger style. Great for, sorry about that. Great for families and things like that. We also have some wellness trips, which if you're looking just to kind of relax and chill out a bit, these are not your hardcore yogi type of trips. These are more your mindful relaxation type experiences over the world. We also have our local living tours. These are kind of cool agriturismo style adventures where you're staying 1 week with a local family, maybe in the Amalfi Coast in Italy or outside of Dubrovnik in Croatia, where you learn to make pasta with the nana or learn how the limoncello farm works, get to taste some of that limoncello, things like that. Notice there's two other travel styles on here I'm going to follow up with a little bit more. That is our amazing partnership and collaboration with National Geographic. So, if you haven't heard of G Adventures already, my guess is you've probably heard of National Geographic, that iconic golden rectangle. So, about 5 years ago, National Geographic actually sought us out and they were like, hey, we love kind of your core values of the company, how you operate, how you see the world. It very much kind of suits exactly how we feel about travel. But what we have noticed is that 70% of our followers can't afford a National Geographic trip. Because up until about 5 years ago, National Geographic really had those only 5, 6 star white glove service type experiences. So what we did is we came together with a collaboration and created our line, which are National Geographic Journeys with G Adventures trips. These are our upgraded trips, but they are kind of the more casual version of the typical National Geographic. We wanted to bring those big bucket list trips kind of more affordable to the everyday person, but still with everything that everyone knows and love with not only National Geographic, but with G Adventures as well. So we have our lineup of almost 100 National Geographic Journeys trips. And 2 years ago, we've also implemented our new National Geographic Family Journeys as well. So this is a really great way to get that National Geographic experience, but also do it being a little bit more mindful, possibly of cost, but still kind of everything you love. With those trips focused on education and digging in and really history and culture and things like that. There'll be lots of opportunities to meet with National Geographic scholars or be a part of one of their conservancy projects throughout wherever we're traveling and things like that. So one of the things right now is, do you feel safer in your own bubble? Because a lot of people are kind of focusing on that area. So another travel style we have is actually our Book Your Bubble collection. This is actually 80 plus different G Adventures trips right now, where we have special pricing and things like that. If you want to do your own trip with just your own little quarantine crew or your group of friends or family or things like this. What makes them special is you can take any of the regular promotions that we might have going on throughout the year and get those prices for a group, which a lot of times it costs a little bit more, or kind of you don't really get a discount if you're doing a private group because it seems super exclusive. So, but this way, with this year and how things have been going, we have that special collection where you're going to get all the extra perks, as well as 50% off the eighth person. Or if you have 11 or more people, you get one person in your family or your group free. So lots of cool kind of perks that go along with that. If you don't love the idea of small group travel and you want to create your own adventures, your amazing travel advisors at Travel Wizards can do that as well. So any one of our trips, with the exception of our ships, because those are all predetermined dates, can be made as a private departure, and you can even pick your own personal date if none of the dates we have work for you and your friends or family. So any of our trips can be made as a private departure as well. Also, any of our boats with the existing dates can be made as a private charter. What's nice also is if any of our pre-existing trips that you're like, oh, I kind of like it, but I wish I could do a couple enhancements, or I wish I could add this or take away that, etc. We also have the capabilities of making a completely tailor-made trip for you. So all you have to do is talk to your amazing advisors at Travel Wizards, let them know what you want. They can come to us and we will build your own creation, which is pretty fantastic. Next, I just want to talk about this guy. Obviously, he's the elephant in the room. With COVID and everything else that's been going on, I don't want to pretend like it doesn't exist. So I kind of want to tackle that head on and answer any questions that people might have, and also kind of address some of those like insecurities as well. So quickly, this is where I'm going to ask you to start participating a little. Are you feeling comfortable to start traveling again? Please, if you don't want to unmute yourself and speak up, please feel free to add a comment in the comment box. We're just trying to get a better idea of how everyone's feeling and all that good stuff, just so we can share.
Okay, there one comment says it's saying maybe they're willing. I think that to me means they are thinking about it, and they know that the time is coming where they're going to be able to travel again. So a maybe is kind of they're interested. They're starting to figure out that maybe it is. There's another one that just came in that says I'm ready. so
I know. There's the meme going around right now that I think my passport thinks that I'm in prison, which is kind of true. For someone who's on 100 plus, flights a year and travels around the world all the time, I think my poor passport is like, what's happening? So hopefully we all get back there sooner or later. I think the biggest question also is, I think one of the commenters made a good point. It's more about starting to stoke our wanderlust a little bit and kind of looking towards the future of what you want to do when we start traveling again. So I do want to talk a little bit about what we're doing at G Adventures to kind of make you feel a little bit more safe and secure on the backside. First and foremost, we have our book with confidence policy. So we get that a lot of people can't travel right now. There's a lot of people or a lot of areas that we can't travel to right now. So when you do basically put a deposit down or secure a trip with us, you have up until about 30 days before to be able to cancel your trip, change to a different date, anything like that. We understand that the world is changing sometimes on an hourly basis these days. And so it gives you kind of that sense and security of being able to kind of change things up at any time. We also have our travel with confidence policy, which is a little bit different. These are all like the physical safety measures and cleaning measures that we've implemented along the way. I can share with Jim and Dominique something maybe to send out to everybody also as a follow-up if you want. We have a whole PDF of everything that we do as well as a really cool 5-minute video that kind of walks you through one of our trips of what it's like, the safety measures that are in place, whether it's the hand sanitizer on every one of our vehicles, the fact that we're using a little bit bigger vehicles, we're actually lowering the number of travelers on each trip so everyone has their own space and a little bit more room. Things like the hotels being completely cleaned before. If you choose not to have cleaning service during, so there's less people in your area, we can ask for that as well. All kinds of things that we're implementing before travel, during travel, and also after as a follow-up travel as well. To go along with that travel with confidence, we are part of the Safe Travels World Travel and Tourism Council. And so we're updating our health and safety guidelines all the time. Again, kind of just to piggyback on everything else that's going on with traveling with confidence and feeling a little bit more confidence, we took, I think it's actually over 40 now of our best selling trips. And we've taken our number of travelers, which is normally 16, dropped that down to 10 or 12. And also implemented things like more private transportation. So, and also, like I said, same size or smaller vehicles that we would use for 16, but keeping those same size vehicles for 10 or 12 people. Half pricing if you want your own room, things like that, more personal space and all of those kind of perks also just to make you feel a little bit more confident on tour. We also have a really cool thing on our website that you or your agents can have access to at any time. If you're just curious what some of the travel requirements or restrictions might be, a really cool way just to kind of plunk in like where you're from, what passport you hold, where you're traveling to, and approximately the date that you're looking at. It will kind of go through all the most up-to-date entry requirements and testing requirements as well. Jim, are there some questions that just popped in the box? I keep seeing the numbers go up and I just want to make sure I'm addressing them.
Well, there's not questions, but there are comments. And
okay.
I think you are starting to touch on them. And a lot of them had to do with the comfortability of everybody traveling. It says, I have one here that says, I absolutely want to travel now, but I'm still worried about COVID. Another one that says, I definitely would like to have my own personal space. That sounds fabulous. I want to travel, but I'm still concerned. Those are the type of messages that are coming through the chat box at this stage of the game. But I think, at least I believe, in some of the comments that you just made over these last few minutes, that you've kind of answered those concerns and
Perfect.
stuff like that.
Thank you
So
so much.
like,
And I didn't mean to derail it. And then I will definitely open up at the end of the presentation also for questions. So if you just want more back and forth or to be able to speak to me directly with a question, I'll open up that in the end and I'll stop sharing screen so I can actually see the comments box and all that good stuff. So next, I want to just touch on some things that I think make G Adventures different and kind of special, if I do say so myself. We don't call our tour leaders. We call them our CEOs. Bruce wanted to give up his title of CEO and give it to the men and women on the ground that are literally the most important part of our company. These are the ones curating that experience for you on the ground. So we call all of our tour leaders our CEOs, our chief experience officers. These men and women are everything to us. They are local from the local regions that you're traveling with. So when you're in Morocco, you're going to be with a Moroccan, not like a 22-year-old kid from Jersey reciting Wikipedia facts. These are men and women that have grown up there, know the history, the culture, the language, the best restaurants to go to, the best place if you need to get your laundry done. The best empanada in the area, things like that. So it really, I think, makes your experience above and beyond by having that true local person with you. And on top of our CEOs, we actually bring in local experts or historians for certain parts of the trip. So like, for instance, when we're in Peru and you go to Machu Picchu, you're not only with your CEO, but you're also with a local historian that takes you through the complex and teaches you all about the history and culture of the Inca people and the ruins, etc. So you're going to have all the information that you need from the local sources. Also, deposits are lifetime deposits. So what that means is once you put a deposit down with us, you don't necessarily get it refunded, but it doesn't expire and we don't keep it as a fee if you can't travel. So most of our trips, our deposits are $350 unless you're looking at one of our polar expedition trips, and then those are $1,000. With those lifetime deposits, if you need to cancel your trip and go at a different time, we leave that deposit on account. It never expires, but what's nice is it's always fully transferable. So if you want to transfer it to a friend or a family, or even back to your travel agent, perhaps, to see if they can use it for a different client, there's lots of ways that we can get creative. But we want you to know that that never expires for you. Again, I touched on this a little bit already, but most of our groups, or actually all of our groups, are small groups, maximum 16 passengers. Right now, on average, about 10 to 12. And then also moving forward, we're looking at some of those smaller groups as well. What's nice is some of these destinations, like I would say East Africa, Kenya, Tanzania, some of our National Geographic Journeys departures already max out at 6 people, and that's a normal trip. That's not COVID restrictions or anything like that. That's the normal size. That just maximizes that experience that you get in country. You're in one safari vehicle. Everyone gets your own window, so you're not trying to crawl over people to get the best picture. We really try to create those ideal environments for the destination that you're in. And the best part is it's people from all over the world. So you can make brand new best friends from Australia, get a free place to stay, maybe next time you want to head down under, things like that. We do have a set itinerary, but we also build in some freedom and independence and flexibility into the itinerary because we realize that not everybody is a museum junkie. Not everybody is a foodie. Not everyone is a shopper. So we have some of that freedom and flexibility built in so you can end up having like the version of your perfect trip as well. Like I said before, we also use local accommodations. So not necessarily these big brand name hotels. A lot of the times they'll be a little bit smaller, but with all those creature comforts that you're expecting for the level of trip that you're booking. And also we don't do mandatory single supplements. We'll do a roommate match, but like I said, with the days of COVID, we have cut all of those in half. And before they were only about 1/4 of the cost if you did want your own private room as well, but now they're even less than that right now because we're really trying to respect that space and people and their comfort level and things. And also one of my favorite parts about traveling is eating. So regional cuisine, you're getting to taste the local food. When we do dinners, it's not going to ever be a set dinner at a hotel where you have to check off chicken, beef, or fish. You're going to be in these local destinations at a local restaurant, trying the local flavors. I think that makes all the difference in the world. And also what's nice if you are traveling alone or you're traveling with someone else, we always offer the CEO will say, hey, whoever wants to do dinner together, I'll set a reservation. We'll meet down in the lobby at 7 o'clock and we can all walk over to so-and-so together or take a taxi to wherever. But there's always an opportunity to be with a group, but there's plenty of options if you want to stray and do your own thing, have a dinner with you or your friend that night. You're never forced to be with the group if you want to. So you have a little bit more of that flexibility as well. So next question, this is the interactive part again. So when all the green lights are ready, you're dusting off your passport, where is the first place that you want to go when you're ready to travel again?
Okay, let's see.
Oh, I see
wow.
those numbers building.
Yes. National parks, New Zealand has come through. It's the two that I see so far.
Okay, well, keep those coming. I'm going to try to
Iceland.
next talk about, go ahead, what was that, Jim?
Iceland, the
Ooh, one of my
Maldives,
personal favorites.
Australia. Wow, they're starting to come in now. Lots of exotic places. I like that.
Okay, good. I'm going to start by talking about some of our top bucket list destinations, some of the places that I feel we at G kind of excel at. But please keep in mind, we have over 700 different trips, again, in 100+ countries all over the world. So if you love what you heard, please ask your travel advisors for more information about the specific destinations because we might do them. So I want to touch on Peru first because it's our #1 destination here at G Adventures. It's our bread and butter. It's where we started as a company. We have over 70 different itineraries in Peru alone. We also get close to 40% of all of the Inca Trail permits that the government gives out every year. We also have 2 massive operational offices in Peru. We do all of our own operations. One's in Lima and one's in Cusco. So if Peru is on your bucket list, it is a great place to start with us. Just for example, this is one of my favorite National Geographic Journeys trips. It's great for those of us who might not have a ton of time to be gone or take off work. It's an 8-day. It hits all the main spots. It starts and ends in Lima. We fly you over to Cusco. You spend time in the Sacred Valley, Ollantaytambo. You get to do an amazing opportunity to see the planetarium in Cusco. Learn all about the Southern Cross and the part of the sky. You also get a chance to sit down and experience one of our Planetara projects at the Parwa Community restaurant, where you basically get served endless courses until your eyes are ready to pop of some of the most amazing food made by local people. There's also so many other things included, also including Machu Picchu, of course, which is the big draw there. We also have lots of little trips if you want to add on mini adventures, cooking classes, stay longer and hit the Amazon or Puno and Lake Titicaca or the Nazca lines. So this is a really good kind of starter Peru trip as well. Another one, for example, is the iconic Peru if you have a little bit longer to dig in. This one also, if you see in this picture, the little hiking guy. So any of our trips that you see the picture of the guy hiking, that means you have some choices. You can either do the 4-day Inca Trail hike, which is the camping for the 3 nights and 4 days, which is not for the faint of heart. But also on any of those trips, you can actually back out of that and do the Cusco stay. So if you're not ready to commit to the whole hike, you can do the Cusco stay, and then we add the train for you to Cusco, and then you'll meet up with the rest of the group up at Machu Picchu. A lot of these trips end up being about half doing either way. If by any chance that the Inca Trail itself is already sold out, because those permits do sell out 6 to 7 months in advance, and maybe even more so moving forward, since I have a feeling that we're going to be limited more so with the number of permits that the government gives. We also have an option of a different community-based trek called the Lares Trek. So lots of different options in Peru. The next destination, which feels really nice because it's a little bit closer to home, is Costa Rica. I am happy to say we are actually running a few of our Costa Rica trips already and have been since December. They are going off without a hitch. We've been able to help people arrange the testing with the new CDC guidelines also. Everything's been working well with the social distancing on trips, people wearing the masks. We realize, however, that might not be the ideal version of travel for you. So if not, definitely I say start looking into the future, because I think when it comes back, travel is going to come back big, and a lot of these spots are going to fill up really quick, because I think you guys have all been sitting around too long and are going to be ready to explore our big, beautiful world a lot more. This is one of my favorite trips that we have in Costa Rica. It's a 9-day, it's our natural highlights of Costa Rica. It hit some of our Planetera projects, Mi Cafecito supported coffee co-op, all kinds of different things. You get the beaches, you get the rainforest, you get the volcano, and the hot springs, all of that. So it's a really good sampler of all the beautiful aspects of Costa Rica. I don't like to focus on pricing, but I'm going to just give you pricing for this one and one other so you can have an idea of what you're looking at. With our collaboration trip with National Geographic, this runs about $17.99. They're in 4-star hotels, really to help kind of manage the expectation of what you might be able to get when you're looking at some of these amazing bucket list trips for the future. Again, this is kind of a classic version of the same itinerary that I just showed you, which was part of the National Geographic journeys. This just changes a little bit. And here, instead of staying at the beach in Manuel Antonio, we stay in Quepos, which is the little town. So that's kind of one big difference between our upgraded National Geographic journeys versus our classic version. I know there was a couple comments about the US and staying a little bit closer to home for the time being. We also have amazing trips right here in our own backyard. I did this trip actually 2 years ago, and it was a nice reminder of how gorgeous our own country is. And we forget sometimes. So the Discover American Canyonlands, we did Grand Canyon, Bryce, Zion. You also got to do Horseshoe Bend, and it doesn't even mention on there, but it includes Antelope Canyon. If you haven't been, it's gorgeous. So really cool adventures right here in our own backyard. We also just released the Best of Yellowstone and Grand Teton as well. We also have the National Parks of the American West if you want to be gone for a little bit longer, as well as a different way to look at Alaska. Most people do it by a cruise ship. So if you really want to dig in and be on land and have a different sort of experience in Alaska, this is a really cool way to do it. Again, this is just a small snippet of the different offers that we have in North America. So I definitely urge you to take a look. Someone mentioned Iceland. Iceland's one of my favorites. If you don't already know, a flight from Northern California or from the West Coast to Iceland is actually the same distance and same flight time as going from the West Coast to New York or Boston per se, because you're going up through the Arctic Circle, which is cool. So it's an easy flight. And I kind of say Iceland is that destination where kind of the Pacific Northwest meets the face of the moon, or that's kind of how I picture it. But it is just as stunning in real life as it is in the pictures. We have several different trips. I think we have about 13 different trips in Iceland, everything from our upgraded National Geographic journeys, which really focuses on the lower part of the island, digging in. So less travel and more, actually being in each one of these destinations, where we have our other classic trips, which kind of circumvent the island and spend a little bit more time traveling to some of these more remote places that take a bit longer to get to. But it is a beautiful destination. It is kind of expensive when you get there, but that's one of the brilliant things about having a small group trip, is that it's all taken care of for you. You just need to have some extra cash for some food and drinks and experiences on the side. Personally, one of my favorite destinations is also Africa. The first time I went to Africa, I did a 3-week overland trip because I thought I would never go back. And I think I've been back 13 times now, and seen a little bit of everything, because everything else just draws you in. There's no place in the world that you really feel like you're in the episode of the Discovery Channel. This particular trip I love talking about, because if you want to go to Africa and you've never been and you're not sure where to start, this is a great itinerary to do that. Explore Southern Africa. It's a 12-day trip. It's all 4-star hotels, upgraded facilities in the game parks as well. So you're staying at beautiful like safari lodges. You get lots of safaris to see all the animals. You also get some beach time and winery tastings and things like that down in Cape Town. And then up in Victoria Falls, is a great place for just the beauty of the falls, but also if you're an adventurer at heart. That's where you do the bungee jumping and whitewater rafting and things like that if you want to walk with the lions. There's also a really cool day trip that you can add to actually go out and extend your trip for a day trip to Chobe as well. Just to give you an idea that these bucket list trips are attainable for the normal everyday person, or if you're sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, I'd love to take my family, but $20,000 a person is not going to work. This is $3,800 for this 12-day. It includes all of the internal flights and all of that good stuff as well. So we really want to be able to bring the world to everyone. Again, Kenya and Tanzania, if your main focus for Africa is animals, this is where you want to go. This is where you're sitting in the safari vehicle and you have prides of lions walking next to you, and that you really, really, really feel that you are in that true episode of a Discovery Channel. The Galapagos is a really big one, and it's such a special environment. We have offered different ways to see the Galapagos. One of the most popular ways is obviously on a boat. All of our yachts are 16 passenger yachts, so a nice, small, intimate experience. This happens to be our catamaran, which is going to be brand new here shortly, a jacuzzi on board, kayaks. We also have all the snorkeling equipment. We have 7-day, 10-day, and also 17-day experiences. But we also have a unique way to see it if you want something a little bit different. We also do a land version where you're not staying on the boat, that you actually are just ferrying from different islands, but you actually get to stay in local properties on each of these local islands, which is a completely different feel and vibe to the way most people see the Galapagos. Europe, once it's booming again, it's going to go back to being one of the most popular destinations, as it always is. As I mentioned before with those local living, this is an example of the local living property that we have in Sorrento on the lemon farm. You're right down in the Amalfi Coast, so you're close to Positano. You can take the ferry over to Capri, drink your weight in limoncello, and all that good stuff. There's also ones inside of Tuscany if your focus is kind of the Tuscan hills and wine. This is a really good opportunity to do that. We also have a really amazing one in Croatia, right outside of Dubrovnik. We also have things like Discover Portugal, which is also a collaboration with National Geographic Journeys. This is a great one too. If you want to go a few days earlier or stay a few days late, we can add on those pre or post nights, so you can extend that time a little bit as well. We've also added recently, in the last couple of weeks here, we've added, I think, 15 new active trips in Europe. So hiking the Dolomites, Sicily, Canary Islands, things like that. So if you're a little bit more active and want something in a more unique destination in Europe, I highly recommend you taking a quick look at those. All things water. So this is our everything marine, all things water. We have these beautiful catamarans and sailing yachts in Greece, Croatia, Thailand, the Maldives, St. Lucia, the Canary Islands, British Virgin Islands, and the list goes on. These are going to be 8 to 10 passengers maximum, so a nice, really intimate way to see these destinations. We also have a really cool 22 passenger Burgundy River cruise, which is a little bit different than any other river cruise you've looked at. Very small. It's kind of like a bike and barge. What's nice about this is because she is smaller, you can get all over, and the seasonality is a little bit longer because she is smaller to go through the canals. A quick glimpse inside. And also, if you haven't had a chance to do an expedition trip, do it. We have an amazing ship called the Expedition. She's 132 passengers. If you're into these guys, you can sail up through the Arctic and hang out with the polar bears in the summer season. We start off that shoulder season around May, hitting Norway and the Norwegian fjords. We also have one that hits Greenland. And then if you haven't done your 7th continent yet, hands down, Antarctica feels like the end of the earth, like people say. You're so far removed from everything that you know, but it is stunning, pristine, and absolutely beautiful, and a great way to kind of experience such a unique place. We also have brochures. Oh, right now we have digital brochures. So if you ever want to link to those, please reach out to your advisor at Travel Wizards, or also let them know if you want a hard copy, because we are actually printing hard copies here within the next week or two. And if you do want a hard copy, we can get one mailed out to you, no problem. It's all going to be all of our National Geographic Journeys trips in one, and then kind of a collaboration of all of the other types of travel style Inner Earth brochure as well. This month, right now, we are doing a February sale, which is 15% off most of the marine trips that I just spoke about. No one else knows this yet. For a sneak peek for March, we are going to be doing, I think, 15% off our active trips as well as Peru. And that's going to be an exclusive that you can only get going through your amazing travel agent. So how and where do I book? You're like, thanks, Kara, for all the information, but I'm ready to kind of flex my wanderlust. I want to get ready to go out and see the world for when I feel safe to do so. Please contact your favorite agent at Travel Wizards. The same way that our company operates as a social enterprise, making sure that we're leaving money in the local communities, we like to do that starting at home with our amazing agent partners. So if you don't already have your favorite agent that you work with, please drop them an email or give them a call, and they can set you up with a specialist of the destination of your choice and get working on creating the most amazing experience for you abroad. So here is all their information. Feel free to screenshot that if you don't want to write it down too, a good way to save that info. And then also I'm going to stop my share screen right now, and I'm going to open it up for questions. So if anybody is brave and wants to say hello and ask any questions, I am happy to do that.
I did see some things come through the chat box with some questions, but for whatever reason, when you stop this, oh, there it is. I found my chat box again, and I lost it there for a second. Anyway, there was a comment, and actually one of the destinations that you had chatted about was the Maldives on your cruise, and that was one of the what one of the guests here tonight had put down as one of their destinations. Can you expand on the Maldives a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a couple different options in the Maldives. We have a kind of traditional Dahone style boat, which feels a little bit more grassroots. You have your skipper on board, they dive into the water, they catch your food, they come back on, they make amazing meals from the local catches. But we also have a really cool yacht. So if you want something that feels a little bit more upgraded with air conditioning and a little bit more comfortable, we also have a yacht in the Maldives as well. So both of our experiences in the Maldives are on boats, just two different styles in order to do that, which is great. I think another one that I see that I really wanted to touch on because it's been super popular right now is Patagonia. So we have probably 5 or 10 different active Patagonia trips, but we also have some that don't just focus on the trek, that really focus on digging in those areas. You can do some of those smaller hikes if you want to, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that like full W trek. We have some of those other ones that really just hit like Torres del Paine or some of those other national parks and things like that too. So that is a really good option right now. And I think people like it because it feels a little bit more pure, a little bit more remote as well than some of these big cities. I think those destinations like Patagonia, like Iceland, that feel a little bit more remote are going to be ones that really draw people's attention when travel makes its comeback.
I also see that somebody wrote a comment on Alaska. And since we unfortunately had some news from the Canadian government about the ships, which most of the people, as you had already mentioned, it's the way to see Alaska and through the passageway and stuff. But that might not happen this year. I mean, we're still hopeful, and there's trying to get some agreements with them. But seeing Alaska through the G Adventures side might be the way to go this year, as far as Alaska is concerned.
I think it's a nice alternative. I think, cruising is great for the right person, but when you're really looking at a kind of a different perspective, being able to stay in the little towns that you go through, it gives you more time to meet the locals, kind of dig into the communities, sit down and have a meal at a local restaurant. You walk away feeling a little bit more connected to that area and that destination than by just being on the cruise and going off board with 400, 500 plus people. It really is with, 10 to 16 people. you have some of those more personal experiences. You're not in those big coaches either. So it really gives you a different kind of feel of Alaska. And I feel like it fits Alaska a little bit better that way too. Cruising is a great way to do it, but this is just a completely different version of that area of the US.
And it might be your best option for Alaska this year. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
exactly. And it might be your only choice. Um, let's see, what is your all-time favorite trip you have done? That is probably the hardest question in the universe for me. I'm personally like an Italy junkie, but if you see my last name popped up on here, Lucchese, it's kind of a dead giveaway. But honestly, I think Kenya is one of those destinations I've been twice that it's really those aha moments. I don't think I'll ever go to the zoo again and be like, this is amazing. It ruins you for life. You really do sit there and you're watching like herds of animals go by, hearing those noises or seeing those animals up close and personal. It just, you walk away with that different feeling. Also just getting to know, like meeting some of the Maasai people in Maasai Mara, how the local tribes live. Those are all just impressions that you walk away with. Especially, I did one in Kenya of camping. So you're camping in the bush. And I know that's not for everybody, but that one night sitting around the campfire, you can hear elephants walking through in the background and you look up and the world absolutely looked like an upside down bowl of stars. Is that like moment that you never forget of, one of those travel moments that just sticks with you forever.
No, it does sound like an amazing trip. I have not been, and I know I want to be at some point in time. That's for sure. Kenya has always been on my variety. Now, you said you do a lot with the local people.
Yes.
And you do a lot with supporting the local areas. Can the travelers help in the community and do some projects and things of that nature while they're there? Is that part of the?
Yeah, 100%. We don't do that kind of hands-on voluntourism. I think that was kind of in our model back actually when I was a travel agent. I was a travel agent for 12 years myself before turning to the tour operator side. But yes, everyone kind of started going away from the voluntourism model because with people just going for a day or two, it was actually causing more harm with a lot of the projects than helping. But what we do is we do it in a fashion that it complements kind of the community and helps them, because we help set up these businesses and our travelers going through there, getting these experience, meeting the people. It's putting that money back into the local communities, but in a way that if G Adventures wasn't there anymore, that their business would already be set up and, having that source of revenue coming in. But there are definitely ways. A lot of the times that we do it, if there's any of the cooking projects or community restaurants, you're doing like cooking lessons and things like that too as part of it. Like in Vietnam, we have our Oodles of Noodles, where you get to be with that family who runs that nonprofit and getting to make the noodles, and then you guys put it together and you guys get to eat it at the end. Our Sasane project in Nepal is the Sisterhood of the Survivors. There's not only a training kitchen, but there's also kind of the women that have been victims of sex trafficking that are getting educations to be paralegals and things like that, that you get to sit down and talk with and hear stories. So there's definitely ways to kind of be engaged and be a part of it, not necessarily like being there for days at a time helping, but we try to make it as kind of engaged as possible, so to speak.
Okay, well, that sounds good. Now, you touched early on about families. So obviously there's trips, talking multi-generations, just not parents and children, but grandparents down to grandchildren. I mean, what type of?
Tons. So actually one of our biggest demographics that we see booking private groups is actually grandparents. They're booking the family trips to get everybody together to do a multi-gen trip. We see them picking some of the family trips, but we also see them picking regular trips as well. What's nice is the normal age for most of our trips is 12 or older. With our family trips, they start as low as 5 years old and higher, so that allows more for that a difference in family dynamic. Honestly, we try not to do under 5 because the restrictions and just kind of transport and things like that get a little bit tricky for kiddos under that age. What's nice though too is if there is a trip that you love that we don't have a family version of, you can do a private departure, and then we can be more flexible on the age as well. So I think multi-gen is probably one of the biggest as far as private groups, but also kind of friends groups, like kind of yoga groups together, like hiking clubs, things like that. Anything that kind of brings people together. There's also a lot of people that do little travel clubs that come and do these trips or private groups or things as well.
Okay, good. Well, we have a few more minutes, folks. If you have anything that you want to put in the chat to ask Kara, please do so now. I do have one thing that I want to add. I've come to feel tonight that adventure really means experience from G
100%.
Adventures. Okay, and so I really think that you have a wide variety, obviously, going to all 7 continents, and I think you said 700 or 800 different itineraries. So how you can rattle them off when you have that many, like you just did, is so thank you very much for that. But yeah, to me, adventure means experience with G Adventures. That's really what I'm going to be taking away tonight. And I do want to thank you, Kara, for everything that you've enlightened us on tonight. And I do appreciate it. And I'm sure that the attendees do as well. So if there's nothing else in the chat, I don't see anything else coming through. If you have a final comment, great. If not, we will go ahead and sign off. Kara, do you have any last minute advice?
No, just thank you guys all so much for being here, spending your evening with me, supporting your local businesses. We appreciate you so much. So don't worry, the comeback's going to be greater than the setback. We are going to get back to whatever the new normal is sooner than later. So yeah, just get excited and let's look at the future. So thanks everybody. Have a great night.
Okay, Kara, thank you again. Once again, we do appreciate it. And hopefully that we've spurred some interest in all your beautiful destinations. And for those of you that are joining us every week, next week, we are going to Egypt with AMA Waterways, and we are hopefully to see you there. Until then, you have a good night and a good week.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.